Hello everybody, it's Philip from Java 2 1511. This is our week 1 fundamentals video. Let's go ahead and go with the app preview really quick. In this app we have an input box, a button, and 2 fragments, which is a list and a details. As you'll see when we start the application, we have some pre-selected queries that are in here. If I go ahead and click on one, I get the detail. Click on another, I get a detail. If I'm offline and I try to add something, say Turkey, and I'll get an error. It says I cannot add when we're offline. It's only previewable. If I go ahead and disable airplane mode here, and so now when we pull it, we go ahead and see that China is now added to the list. So let's go ahead and talk about structure and efficiency. We had to have the proper layout for our methods and constructs. So we have an API sync class here, which allows us to do our lookups from the server. In the API sync class, we're extending async tags like we need to and returning a list of countries. We're returning the list so that we can merge it with the existing list we have in case there's more than one item that's returned. I do a full text search, so if I do multi-words, I can get multiple countries back. In here we do have our tag, our static members, and of course our constructs allow us to set the API URL and what activity we're going to. And in our pre-execute, we're displaying our progress dialog. In our background, we're establishing our connection, handling our errors, and then parsing our data when it's done. On our on-canceled, we're displaying a canceled message that says something couldn't be downloaded, there was an error, whatever the case may be. When it's done executing, we go ahead and either state that we couldn't find anything if there was no result, or we go ahead and create a new instance of our list fragment with that result, which gets merged in, which you'll see in a moment. Then, of course, we have a custom country class right here that implements serializable in all of our static members. Because it implements serializable, we're able to output all of these objects to a file. That way we can look them up whenever. We were asked to show each part of our fragment here. So this is our country detail fragment. She doesn't have an interface, anything to implement in the main activity because she just gets notified. And in this case, we do need to handle our selected country, which is a country object. And of course, a blank constructor here. Our country detail as a new instance sends the selected object to our selected country. And then we return the fragment. And on our create view, we go ahead and get references to each of our text views. As long as the country is not null, it displays all the information and returns the fragment. Very simple. Our country list fragment's a little bit more complicated. It does implement list fragment because it's a list. It makes more sense. We do have our tag in here. We have a list of countries that we're handling, and we have a listener. This listener is important. It allows us to tell the activity that, hey, something happened, and go ahead and do this. Of course, our default blank constructor here. On our new instance, we send in the new data. And we add that new data into the already existing countries list, and then we save that countries list out to a serializable file. We do have a file helper here as well. In our file helper, we have a save file. I hard-coded our data folder and our data file in case they ever change because we have multiple references in here. And we do have a can write to external as a check. We want to make sure that we can write to the external SD card, we'll say. We get a reference to it, and we make the directory. We get a reference to the file, make the file, we output the information, we output the object, and we close. It's as simple as that. And then, of course, on load, we're just checking to make sure we can load. And we're just pulling the file in, we're opening it, and we are pulling it as a list of objects, not individual objects. And, of course, we have our main activity here. And in our main activity on create, we are getting a new instance of our list fragment. We're beginning our transaction. We're replacing our list fragment for the container. We specify a tag, and then we execute those transactions. We also set a button listener, a button click listener, so that we can handle when the user clicks it. Now, when they do, it executes a load JSON data to the server. And that is down here, which of course does a connectivity check, make sure that we're online. If we are online, it goes ahead and sets up the API URL, sends that to an async task, and we're done. If we're not online, it says, hey, you cannot add. Sorry, you can only view. The only other thing I didn't show you was on Fragment Interaction, which is when a user clicks on an item, it creates a new detailed view, it replaces it with our selected country, and we're done.